screenfiles.com with Postmortem. The movie we're looking at today is The Fog, which was directed by John Carpenter in 1980 and remade by Rupert Wainwright in 2005. On principle, I don't like remakes because they often don't add anything to the original. In short, they have a new cast, some time has passed, and they just kind of foist the same movie for the most part onto us, which I don't particularly like. It's a waste of energy. If you're not going to bring anything new to the process, then why are you bothering? And I'm happy to say that Wainwright's reboot of The Fog wasn't in that camp. That's not to say I particularly liked it. I kind of didn't. But it at least tries to strike new territory in some respects. The original movie The Fog began with a voiceover by John Houseman telling a campfire story. His voice is so distinctive, so resonant, it so set the scene that it's hard to follow that up. And the remake doesn't even try to. In fact, it ditches that whole ghost story element of it. It keeps other elements of the movie though, such as the spirits coming back for revenge, the stolen gold, and that sort of thing. But it introduces new elements, such as leprosy, a love interest. In fact, the story turns into a bit of a romance in some ways, a supernatural romance in some ways. It's an interesting change, but it's part of what I was referring to earlier, in that the movie brings a little different flavor. It keeps the essential elements of Carpenter's original, but brings a new flavor, which is welcome. I didn't necessarily like the changes, but I do appreciate that they were trying to do something new. What doesn't work for the movie is that its actors are, for the most part, incredibly bland. Part of what made Carpenter's original movie so resonant was the quality of actor in the movie. I mean, I mentioned John Houseman, there's Jamie Lee Curtis, there's Adrienne Barbeau, there's even a cameo by John Carpenter, which is kind of cool. There's also Janet Leigh, Psycho. It has such a great cast, and that helps the story as well. While the 2005 reboot has actors like Tom Welling, who's visually attractive, but wooden. He doesn't bring any life, any vitality to the role. While that part was originally played by Tom Atkins. Yes, that role was really played by Tom Atkins, and he has this seediness, this almost desperate air to him that really benefited the role. He came off as very human, but kind of seedy too. And that was good. I like that. While Tom Welling has a very kind of wholesome, bland feel. He's like Keanu Reeves, just not quite as exotic. It's just something that you put on screen to visually appeal to certain demographics, and that's pretty much it. He didn't bring anything to the role. And in fact, that's the biggest problem with this reboot of The Fog. There are no actors present that bring anything to the role. Another problem is that the visual effects, it obviously has a bigger budget. There's significantly more car crashes, boat crashes, and so on. So money was spent on the movie, no doubt about it, especially compared to the original, which was almost intimate in some ways. But the money wasn't spent in ways that necessarily made it more effective as a ghost story, and it's really not. I mean, there are some interesting things about it. There is an angle that the ghosts, when they were alive, were lepers, and there's a scene where a character is touched by one of the ghosts, and she just decays. She just kind of just rots. And that was pretty interesting, because it plays on that whole leprosy angle. Unfortunately, it's not something that you see again in the movie. I recall watching an advert for this movie when the director was talking about some of the visual effects, and he was talking about the fog would go inside of people, and he made it sound really horrific. unfortunately, none of that is in the movie. Is it on the cutting room floor? I have no idea. But it's missed. There's CGI, early CGI, but CGI in this movie nonetheless. And it's not bad. I mean, it's animating fog. You know, it doesn't need to be Avatar level effects. But nothing is very interesting about it. And it's low key. The problem of the actors not being terribly distinctive, the visual effects not being terribly distinctive, and the change in the storyline, as I mentioned earlier, you're getting rid of the whole ghost story angle and an emphasis on a romantic kind of entanglement kind of weakens the whole thing. It's not bad. A better remake than most, to be totally honest, but still not quite hitting the mark. This is Brian from ScreenFiles.com with Postmortem.